So I was doing the hem at home to speed up our process here, and I ran out of bobbin thread just before I got to the end, but I realized that's a good thing because then I can demonstrate.
Right.
Like the last... Okay, so I ran out of bobbin thread with this much hem left.
Oh, terrible.
Which is how it always works. So if you're sewing and you're frustrated with this sort of thing, it doesn't matter how much experience you have. It happens all the time. So this is a simple rolled hem. I'm not doing a super narrow one. I'm doing one that's about 3/4 of an inch wide. That gives a little more weight, and that you can see it's slightly stiff, which we talked about wanting the train to sort of flow out, and it won't totally do it, but it'll help. So that was the decision on the hem, and we had enough fabric to do it. So I'm going to start, because it's a hem of a wedding dress and not something it's going to go through the laundry. I'm not going to bother back tacking where my thread left off. I'm just going to stitch, it'll be stitched double in 2 spots, and that'll be enough to hold it. So, start here. So, you can see I have pins every so often on. I'll show you what happens when you don't put your pins close enough, because I did that in a spot and I have to fix it. So you just go along for yards and yards and yards. What I did here on the extra fabric here, the where you get to the hem, is I cut this bit shorter, so it's not as bulky on the hem. In your store-bought dress, they don't bother with that. They just have a bulky thing. Doesn't really matter. It's under lots of netting, but it's my habit.
We're cool.
It's couture. See, I have marked with pins here somewhere.
I see a yellow pin.
So here's a pin. So you see how this is sort of like got these diagonal ugly lines?
Yeah.
That's because I didn't, and on the top side it doesn't really show, so it's not a big hairy deal. But I didn't put pins, I put them probably this far apart. And depending on the direction of the grain line, it's the fabric is going to slide, because it's satin, and drag across and do that. And then as a result, it's not tucked under here. That's actually raw edge popped out. And so I have to take my seam ripper and rip out to either side so I can restitch a section. And that's in 2 spots that I did that. So when you finish hemming, it's always a good idea to go all the way around and check all the way and make sure there aren't any mistakes so you can go back and fix them so that it doesn't snag on something when you're going down the aisle.
Good. We don't want snags.
No snagging down the aisle. Thank you very much.
No.
So that's the joys of hemming.
Okay. Thank you, Patty.
So every time we put on the crinoline, we battle with these hooks and pulling the drawstring through, and it's annoying. And it's somebody else's crinoline, and so whatever we change, we can't permanently change on it. And it was originally set up to tie, and so we've got it long enough to tie. We've got little hook things here, which we've shown before. But messing with regathering it every time is just making us nuts. So I found the center point of the string here, and found the center front of the fabric, and then I took and put a pin there, and then I stitched through. I'm going to show you here. I'm stitching through, and then I've got a little section in the front where you can see it's not as gathered, because we don't want it, we want it smoother in front. And then on the sides here, so we've got this much stuff, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to make this side and back. So I'm going to make that about even, kind of point in the middle, put a pin there, and I've got a pin, with enough left over for the hook to show. So then what I did is my pin is I put a knot in my thread, and I'm just going back and forth a few times through the ribbon, tacking that on, and I've already gone through a few times, and then I'm tying a knot in the back so that this will always stay gathered at the right points, and we can easily hook it on.